Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and let's just talk about it. Saturday, we're back in action. It's Flag Day at Celtic Park. It's the curtain raiser of the 2023-24 Scottish Premiership campaign. Who will Brendan Rodgers start under this new era? It's now his team, it's now his players. Are we going to see something different? Who knows? Let's talk about that. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. You guys have smashed it. Honestly, we're doing unbelievable, and let's keep it up because we are fastly approaching that 40,000 subscriber mark. So let's get above that. Let's go down below. Absolutely free. It would be much appreciated. And yeah, back in with the daily content. Let's do this. We're going to be recording a Celtic the Thunder podcast this evening, so we will be diving into this Ross County game in a lot more depth with a lot more discussion, so keep an eye out for that tomorrow. But today I've decided, why don't I sit down and discuss what I think will be Brendan Rodgers' first 11 that he picks on Saturday. Of course, it's not easy to predict. It's a new era, it's a new manager. Ange Postecoglou had his favourites, he had his team that we would, quite easily predict week in, week out. But now that could change. The shape could change. A lot of things could change with a new manager. So I thought it'd be quite fun to sit down and discuss it in a bit more detail than we normally would. So we're going to do that today, but it's an exciting season coming up, isn't it? Can we go for 3 in a row this season? Absolutely. Brendan Rodgers is a winner. That team is full of winners. We know what we're doing, and it'll be an interesting one. Very quickly, alongside that, there will be some changes in the Scottish Premiership this season. The SFA have confirmed that stoppage time will be changing this campaign. We will be adapting that rule that was brought in at the World Cup in 2022. It's being used in England this season, and this morning on Sky Sports, the SFA also confirmed that the Scottish Premiership will be following these new added time rules. If you're not familiar with them, a very brief kind of summary here. So basically at the World Cup, we've seen these massive stoppage times, didn't we? 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 minutes added on to the end of each half to make up for the time that the ball is out of play, including goal celebrations, stoppages for set pieces. Everything that the ball is not in play for will now be timed, and we'll see that added on to the end of the game. Crawford Allen was on Sky Sports this morning, and he said this, last year in the World Cup, there were guidelines given to the referee to include adding time for goal celebrations. We're now covering that in our league, and we've covered it with the referees to make sure the time gets added on. The referees will time it all a bit like substitutions, and then we'll add that on top, talking about goal celebrations. I do think that we're going to see 6, 7, 8 minutes possibly added on to the end of halves that maybe had 2 or 3 goals, substitutions, injuries, and maybe VAR delay. They're going to be managed a little bit a bit more proactively. So that's going to be changing this year. Get used to seeing that at Celtic Park, longer stoppage times to make sure we're playing as close to 90 minutes as possible when the ball's in play. It probably will get tedious, it probably will get frustrating. My first thought was, imagine they're in a freezing cold Wednesday night in the middle of December playing, Ross County, and you're sitting there waiting to get up the road, and the referee adds 9 minutes of stoppage time. That's got to be a nightmare. But I guess it's one of these new rules that are coming in. It gives us more football to watch. It is ensuring that the ball is in play for the majority of the game rather than being out for goal kicks and corners and substitutions and injuries. They want to ultimately play more football. So I totally understand it. At the World Cup it was a bit frustrating, but towards the end I got used to it. So yeah, we're going to see it in the Scottish Premiership this season. We know what Celtic's battles are like with the SFA, so let's hope it doesn't go against us. Conspiracy theorist. I'm joking. But aye, that will come in this season. Right then, starting 11 prediction for Saturday against Ross County. Let's get right into it because obviously Celtic are in a different era now. We've made a lot of new signings. The side could look different heading into this game, but obviously towards the end of last season we knew what our strongest side was. Is there need for many changes to the regular 11 that plays? Maybe not, but Brendan will assess his own side, he'll assess what he wants, and that might look a little bit different to what Ange Postecoglou fielded every week. With that being said, let's go through it because there has been discussions in pre-season as to who could feature regularly for us this campaign. But this is what I think Brendan might go with this Saturday. Starting goals, Joe Hart. Listen, there's been a lot of conversation after the last game especially that maybe Joe Hart's place isn't as secure as what you'd think. With Benjamin Siegrist playing the first half against Bilbao and then Scott Bain in the second half, people are now suggesting that maybe it's not Joe Hart who's going to be the preferred keeper of choice. I don't think you should read into that too much. Joe Hart is keeping his place. Brendan Rodgers has spoke very highly and very openly about Joe Hart, to the extent where I don't even think he's that interested in bringing in a new keeper right now. It's Joe Hart's place for the time being until someone else is brought in. He will start the game on Saturday. He's the best keeper at the club. And yeah, I know a lot of us are now desperate for us to sign a new keeper. We'll just need to wait and see what happens. But until that day comes, it's his number one shot to lose. So I don't think there's much of a conversation as what some people are making out in regards to who starts in goals. Right back then, as we know, Alistair Johnson's still out with injury. So who will be the right back to start this campaign? Well, I think it'll be Tomoki Iwata. I really do. Ralston's just back as well from obviously a minor sort of knock. He's recovered. He's ready to play. He came on against Bilbao in the second half, but he played Iwata at right back every game in pre-season. Apart from the mistake that led to the second Bilbao goal, he had a solid pre-season. And I think that Brendan Rodgers will probably give him another crack at the whip in a competitive game this weekend. Maybe down to the fact Ralston's just back and maybe does need to kind of ease himself into things. But I think Iwata can hold his ground against Ross County. I don't think he'll be too troubled down that right-hand side of the defence. And there was a lot of faith put in him in pre-season. So I really do think he'll start at right back this weekend. Who knows, maybe Ralston will get brought back into the side. But Rodgers seemed to like him in pre-season. He gave him all those games. Didn't really have much of a choice right enough. But yeah, he could have played Hatate at right back if he wanted to. He could have maybe tried to bring back Ralston earlier. He could have started him against Bilbao. I really do think Rodgers is going to favour Iwata there. The centre-half partnership. Now, this is actually quite difficult, and this is where it gets unpredictable. You know, I could get this totally off today, all 11 players. But I am going to go with Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carl Starfelt. That's the partnership I'm going to go with for the weekend. Yes, we've just spent about £5 million on Mike Nawrowski, but I think that he's going to go with the tried and tested and the best partnership that we currently have at the club. And I think eventually over time you will see Nawrowski get bedded in and probably become one of the favoured two as well. But to start the campaign, I think you'll go with the one that right now has the most solid foundation at the back. The two that are used to playing with each other just till we get off to start this season pretty well. There's every chance that Vickers might not start because he is, once again, like Ralston, just back from injury. But yeah, Ross County, we should be able to handle that. Ross County probably won't get many chances in the game. And I think that Vickers getting minutes in his legs and playing that will probably be more helpful than anything. So I think he will play. And Starfelt beside him, just to me right now, seems like the most logical choice. How long will it be until Nawrowski solidifies himself as one of the starting two centre-halves? We await to see that. And Rodgers might just want to try and get going to that straight away. But these two have been the best centre-half partnership in Scotland for the longest time. And I think that they will start the game on Saturday. And at left-back, Greg Taylor. That's simple. I'm not even going to bother with an explanation. Greg Taylor's going to be at left-back. That's that. Into the midfield now. And this is where a bit of conversation has to be held. Because I think that Brendan Rodgers might change the shape slightly from what we were used to under Ange Postecoglou. And I think you could see evidence of that throughout some of the pre-season games, especially in the first half of the Bilbao game. It seemed to me that we set up with a more 4-2-3-1 kind of shape rather than that 4-3-3 that was played with Ange Postecoglou. And obviously, if you go back to Brendan Rodgers' first spell in charge of Celtic, it was very 4-2-3-1 as well. We had Scott Brown, Callum McGregor, Stuart Armstrong, or Tom Rogic who came in, and we'd have the two sitting in behind the one attacking midfielder. I think that we might be reverting back to that, and I'm absolutely okay with that. If anything, it's just personal preference. I kind of prefer it because it lets McGregor do the work that he does, the defensive work, but then I think it also allows him the opportunity to sit a bit higher when he's allowed that opportunity. When it comes to European games, yeah, I think I'd rather him sit as that number 6 a little bit deeper behind the other midfielders, but a game against Ross County, have the two midfielders in there rather than McGregor sitting much deeper. And I think it'll be McGregor and Hatate who will occupy these two positions in midfield. Now, The player that I'm going to come on to talk about in a minute, who I think will start just ahead of the two, I think can alternate between positions. I think that Hatate can move forward into being that attacking midfielder, and then the player that I'm going to have can switch with him. But I think that these two will start the game. They are obviously our two elite centre midfielders, the two that are spoke about and raved about the most. So their places are nailed on pretty much, and I think that they'll play together as a kind of partnership in the midfield. If he does set up with the 4-3-3 and he doesn't go with a 4-2-3-1, then I think it's safe to say we all know who will drop deeper, and that will be McGregor. But I think those two will start. And then ahead of them in that attacking midfielder role, I think we'll see Matt O'Reilly in there. As I said, very similar vibes to Stuart Armstrong under Brendan Rodgers in the first tenure. I think we'll see a lot of the similarities in play style to what Brendan Rodgers wants, the way he'll be on the ball more, probably getting more goal-scoring opportunities, chances from range as well. But as I said, I think that O'Reilly and Hatate can probably do a lot of alternating between sitting deeper and moving up. They're three quality midfielders, and I think that's the three that he'll start with. We've obviously got David Turnbull, Thiago Holm, and other guys now as well that can come in and play in the centre midfield areas. But for me, that's the strongest combination of them. And I think that we should just go all guns blazing for the first game and reap the rewards of that. So that's the three that I'm going with. It is in the kind of 4-2-3-1 setup. And I'm looking forward to seeing that under Brendan Rodgers again. On to the wingers, and in this 4-2-3-1 system, obviously, you would say that they don't sit as high as they would in the 4-3-3 under Ange, but I don't think we're going to suddenly scrap the high press wingers and etc, etc. They'll basically be up there with the forward, just like they always have been. But just in terms of shape, I've got them lined beside O'Reilly, Maida and Abada. I think they pick themselves at the minute. Obviously, there's a conversation for the likes of Yang coming in after an impressive game against Bilbao. There's a conversation for Haksabanovic this season and what he could maybe do. But let's be real, Maida has been brilliant through pre-season, and he's been favoured by Brendan Rodgers up front in games as well. So he will start. And Liel Abada could be a standout player this season as well. So I think the two wingers really do pick themselves. But once again, we're lucky. We've got a little bit of depth there just now. We've got players to fall back on each side. We then have Tilio, who will be coming back from injury, hopefully, as soon as possible. But for me, that's the obvious combination of wingers. And for those who doubted Maida in a Brendan Rodgers system, well, we're now going to see it properly. Not friendlies, not warm-ups. This is a proper game of football, and I think it'll be great against Ross County on Saturday. Mark my words, Maida is going to drop the biggest stinker of the season now that I've said that. And finally, up front, who else? It's going to be Kyogo. We've got him in there. Of course, Brendan Rodgers played Maida through the middle on a couple of occasions in pre-season. I think Kyogo was still getting back to full fitness with the shoulder knock, etc, etc, but he's back. He's been playing, and he's the talisman for this side. He is the goal scorer. He's the key man. He's got to be brilliant under Brendan Rodgers. I cannot wait to see him under Brendan Rodgers. And you know, there's obviously a conversation about O as well, who's looked good in pre-season for them as well. He could come on and get some minutes, but Kyogo's going to start. Simple as that, isn't it? It's a bit like Greg Taylor. What's even the point in discussing it? And there you go. That there for me is the side that I think will start the game against Ross County at the weekend. But it's great. I love the kind of unpredictability about it all. I really do. The fact that, you know, last year I felt like we sat in the podcast giving our predicted 11s every week, and if you weren't taking rotation into things, we knew what Ange's preferred 11 was. For as much as Ange would bang on saying I don't have favourites, we knew what his preferred 11 was. But now this is a chance for Brendan Rodgers to come in and kind of make his own mark on things. Who knows? It could be only a matter of time before someone like Thiago Holm is in this team every week and starting every week. He could be that good. But I think that the signings like him and Navrovsky, they're definitely going to play big parts. I just think that this is the side for me that will start on Saturday, because we know the quality that's there. And listen, if it's not broke, don't fix it, I suppose. But aye, that's my predicted 11. Right then, that does it for today. We are very, very close that return to Celtic Park, well, it's already been technically with the testimonial, but the competitive return to Celtic Park is almost here. We raise the league flag again. It's always a great feeling, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm very, very excited. We'll be back with a podcast tomorrow. We'll be deep diving this game. And then, obviously, all the post-match coverage from Ross County will be on the channel too. So, like and subscribe. Thank you all for listening. And I'll see you all next time.